qualities of the human brain, but its wiring that endowed us with powerful new skills. According to Richard Wrangham, one of these skills was the knack for living a complex social life. Here in East Africa, chimpanzees show us how we might have interacted with others before the mind's Big Bang.
Social climbing is the one thing that really makes a male's world. But they do it not in just a one-to-one way. They're very sensitive to the interactions among each other. So if I have a friend that I am trying to impress, then maybe what I will do is to attack the enemy of my friend. And the enemy of my friend might be doing something like grooming with one of his friends. So I may detect the relationships among other chimps and manipulate them to my own advantage. What we share with the chimps is an ability to be very subtle in the way in which we can understand the meaning of an interaction that we see in terms of its threat to our own social standing. In humans, a little word to the father of a badly behaved adolescent, and all of a sudden you can control their behavior. But no such thing happens with chimps. You have to actually exert physical force or the threat of physical force.
But after about 6 million years of separate evolution, humans acquired a significant social advantage.
How much subtler, how much more satisfying if the Council of Elders can sit round the fire at night and say, you know, Joe there, he's behaving really badly, we've got to do something about him. That's what chimps can't do.
There's much more chimpanzees cannot do. The University of St Andrews in Scotland. Here, Andrew Whiten considers differences between chimp minds and human minds. With unlikely tools, he and others have identified another critical advantage, and possibly a key to the human mind's stunning success.
Okay.
Mind reading. Will this 3-year-old be able to look at things from someone else's point of view? Can she make inferences about others' thoughts? Can she spot deception?
Sally, watch this. She's going to go put the marble in the basket. Are you ready? Cover it up. Okay. And then Sally's going to go out to play, like you did out in the garden. Ready? Off she goes. Okay, she's going out to play, and while she's out to play, here's Naughty Ann coming, and she's going to take the marble out of the basket.
While Sally is away, deceitful Anne will now hide Sally's marble.
Go in. There we go. And then Anne's going to come over here. And do you know what's happening? Where did Sally go? She went out to play. Where's she gone? She's coming back. And she's going to come and look for her favourite marble. Where's Sally going to look for her marble now?
I think she's in here.
You think Sally's going to look in there? Why do you think she's going to look in there?
I think she'll find it.
That's where it was.
Through the age of 3, researchers have found that a child is unable to ascribe actions, motives, and beliefs to others. But by the age of 5, the child's brain has developed a capacity for stepping into someone else's mind.
This is Sally. Sally is coming back from playing. And Sally's going to go and look for her marble. Where is she going to look for her marble?
She's going
to... where's she going to look?
Basket.
In the basket. Okay, shall we let her look in the basket?
Yeah.
Why did she look in the basket?
Because the marble could have been there, but it wasn't.
Okay, so where is the marble? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, do you want to help? It varies in different children, but generally the 4-year stage is thought of as a kind of watershed when that particular refined theory of mind ability emerges. So a 3-year-old would typically have difficulty with it. A 5-year-old has generally mastered it. And so far, no chimpanzee has passed any test of the attribution of false belief that a 5-year-old child passes. I suppose theory of mind, makes us as sublime as we are because we can feel for others so much, perhaps, you might say, on the one hand. At the same time, it allows us to be that much more sneaky than any other species on the planet. In societies of humans, being socially competent really counts. Being socially competent allows you ultimately to outcompete others, to gain better access to resources, the best mates. And in those kind of societies, it seems that brain can be more important than brawn. So it's potentially a very powerful evolutionary force because it's driving a kind of upward spiral. Social complexity begets greater social intelligence. Social intelligence presents even greater problems to the individuals in the next generation, and they have to become more socially complex.
Complex social relationships, a theory of mind. These are abilities we associate with modern humans. But how could we express any of these abilities without language? With language, we can recall the past, ponder the future, teach children, tell secrets, manipulate crowds. But imagine a world without language. Nicaragua, Central America. Managua. Here, as in other places of the world, there are those who hardly have any language at all. Maria no Name, Mary no name. Deaf since birth, she has been isolated all her life, both from the people who could help her and from others with her disability. Her friend, linguist Judy Cagle, understands the depth of her isolation. The two can communicate just a little, using simple and primitive gestures.
The first time I met her, she was missing the ability to tell me who she was. She was missing the ability to tell me how old she was. She doesn't know her name. In order to tell me who she was, she had to take me home and show me the papers and pictures of her family. We had to share a context. She can tell me things. I can show you a bit. She can tell me what happened to her father. I asked her about her father dying, and she said 3, okay? What 3 meant was he was shot 3 times. I know this from working with the other deaf signer, that she said he was shot in 3 places. And that's how her father died, right? Yeah. Right. And, you know, but 3 is just not enough to give me access to the information that I would have needed had I not had prior knowledge about that.
Papa. Papa.
Okay. What she's saying is, I had a daughter that went away and got married, and that was it. She never came back. I had a son that went away, and I never heard from him again. You know, that's it. I'm alone. That's my life. She was language ready. The problem was she didn't get access to language within that critical period, and that critical window for learning language in the way that we learned it is closed.
This window for language remains open until we reach age 7. Then it slowly closes as we advance towards puberty. Before the 1980s, many deaf Nicaraguans were like Mary No Name. They never encountered the window for language because they never encountered others with their disability. But in 1980, after the Nicaraguan Revolution, the new government tried to enhance deaf people's lives. It brought deaf village children into Managua to end their isolation. Here, educators tried to teach them an existing sign language. The effort failed. The children showed little interest in learning a language forced upon them. Instead, they began communicating with each other in their own way. Judy Cagle was summoned from the United States to sort out the problem.
I came down thinking wherever there were deaf people, there was a sign language, and that obviously there would be a full-blown sign language in full swing here in Nicaragua. And I said, well, you know, I can learn a bit of their sign language if that's what you want, and work with you on learning it. They said, no, they don't have a sign language. They have mimicas. They have mime gestures. And they pointed to a group of kids and said, we want to know what they're talking about.
It turned out they were talking about a lot more than anyone dreamed possible. Kegel had arrived in Nicaragua shortly after the birth of a new language.
Language needs company. Language needs a community. Language needs some sort of a trigger. And I think that trigger is, it's not so much that it needs a community in the sense that there have to be lots of people, but part of being a community is wanting to share information with each other.
Might this moment resemble what happened around 50,000 years ago? The turning point that led to the explosion of human creativity? Language does not need a voice. It is our legacy, an inevitability of being human. Today, we still don't know exactly when language evolved, when it opened the door to our phenomenal success as a species.
This is a verb reduplicated.
But language, every language, depends on strict rules, all of them familiar.
That's a role shift to man looking at the bird, then back to the man falling off the mountain, dreaming that he's going to fly like a bird.
While many species can communicate, even vocalize, only human languages are driven by complex rules. Every one of our world's 6,300 languages has them. We call them syntax. In her isolation, Mary No Name never encountered syntax, but it is commonplace in the children's language.
Syntax isn't the set of rules that you learned in your third grade grammar that you had to memorize so you spoke English the way you're supposed to. Syntax is, or language, the constraints on language are something that all human beings share. They're the constraints that are imparted to us by the fact that we share a single human brain. They are not just the constraints, but the ability to hierarchically organize information that allows us to construct sentences, novel sentences that have never been said before, that allows us to tell a story, that allows us to prophecy, that allows us to lie. I can sheerly communicate for communication's sake when I have syntax. Then I can truly use a language.
And those most gifted with the tools of language might have been the ones to prosper, according to Richard Dawkins.
We don't know when language started, but as soon as language did start, it provided an environment in which those individuals who were genetically best equipped to thrive and survive and succeed in an environment dominated by language were the ones who left the most offspring. And that probably, in our forefathers, that probably led to an improvement in the ability to use language.
What exactly was the evolutionary purpose of language? Was it to discuss water holes, weapons, what lay over the hill? Or might it have had another advantage? The answer may be surprising.
The kind of situations we were looking for to study language was just the sort of natural places where you would have a conversation, and a very informal, relaxed conversation with a friend. So we kind of looked in places like bars, trains, anywhere where you would kind of have a sort of a natural everyday conversation.
Robin Dunbar is an eavesdropper. He listens in to other people's conversations to determine what we really talk about.
I think the conventional view of all those who work on language, linguists and all these kind of people, is that language is about the transmission of technically complex information. This is what I kind of call the Einstein and Shakespeare